right, everyone. Hello and welcome in. Long time no see. I want to start things off with showing you one of my newest additions to the wall back here. This hat. This may look familiar. This is the NFC North 2022 Divisional Championship hat for the Minnesota Vikings. That is the takeaway. That is what we have to show for after a 13-4 season that featured one of the more entertaining regular seasons since probably 2017. 13 wins, 4 losses, divisional championship. One of the greatest catches of all time that will be replayed forever on YouTube and anywhere else you could watch football highlights by Justin Jefferson against the Buffalo Bills. The greatest comeback in the history of the sport against the Indianapolis Colts, where we overcame a 33-0 deficit. We had an entire season of Justin Jefferson showcasing why he is in the running for the best wide receiver in the league currently, as he tried to match Calvin Johnson's single season receiving yards record. Ended up falling short of that. All of that came to a not so thrilling conclusion against the New York Giants in the first round of the playoffs this past Sunday in Super Wild Card Weekend. I don't know what's so super about it. I think they need to drop that because it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But anyway, I've been trying to pick the right time to come back to YouTube and maybe not full-time, maybe not in a full-time capacity, but start talking about the Minnesota Vikings again and continuing to cover this team as I did prior to life-changing events where I had my firstborn child and a career change earlier this season, or earlier in the year. I think this is the right time because we just wasted one of the better seasons, one of the more miraculous, lucky seasons that we've had in a long time, and to go out like a fart in the wind against the New York Giants because this defense is so bad. We made Daniel Jones look like Steve Young out there, and it's incredible that once again, here we are with a first-round playoff exit after a 13-win season and an offense that really could do almost anything that it wanted at any given time, because we saw it so much throughout the season. So I think this is the right time to come back. I think this is the right time to come back as we begin. Today's day one of the offseason. As of this recording, Ed Donatel is still employed. I don't know how. Explain it to me. Explain it like I'm 5, how he has managed to survive this much of Monday. There's still time left. I think it's not quite kickoff for the final game of Super Wild Card Weekend between the Bucs and the Cowboys. That still has yet to happen, but I don't know. He's still employed. I'm waiting for the notification. Any day now, that would be great. It would be great for that to happen soon, but Ed Donatel needs to be fired. But this is the right time to come back. This is the right time because we're entering the offseason. There is a lot of things that we need to discuss, and I want to come back as a part of that discussion in Minnesota Vikings, the Minnesota Vikings internet online media community, whatever the hell you want to call it. And I want to welcome back anybody who is still subscribed to the channel and anybody who happens to stumble upon this video. Welcome into the fold. We're going to have some fun. So I am back. I am mad as hell, and the Minnesota Vikings continue to be a huge disappointment. I kept trying to make a video at some point during the regular season, but I just every time seemed like the wrong time, right? I wanted to make a video after the Bills game and say, this is destiny. We cannot be stopped. We can match up with whoever we want to. And because the Buffalo Bills beating them, that's a legitimate Super Bowl contender. And we beat them on the road. And it took, we'll get back to that. But after that game, I was like, I could go on, make a video, and just hype up this team. After the Cowboys game, I wanted to make a video saying, here we are once again, prime time against a potential playoff opponent, and we just get absolutely demolished, right? So I couldn't figure out the right time, and I'm glad that I waited until the very end to see what this team really was. Now, a lot of people want to throw around the F word for the Minnesota Vikings for 2022. They want to call them fraudulent. I don't think that that's true. I think the Vikings were a lucky mirage, if I could put it that way. So much luck went into the season, 11-0 in one-score games, and then you lose the one that matters the most at the end of the season by 1 score to the New York Giants, which eliminates you from the playoffs and ends your year. That is unsustainable. That's pure luck. That is not a good football team. You know, good football teams find a way to win, but 11 times in the regular season, no, that is a lot of luck. This should have been, I want to argue, a 10-win team. I think that is where their talent level is. They caught some breaks this year. They caught a lot of breaks this year. The ball bounced their ways more often than not, and they got lucky in some of their matchups against opposing quarterbacks, and some opposing, head coaches made some very questionable decisions that ended up killing them and giving the Minnesota Vikings the edge. Ultimately, I think this should have been a 10-11 win team. And then we lucked our way into a few more. So that is where I stand on the status of the Minnesota Vikings as a whole for the entire season. Not fraudulent, just very lucky. This team was a mirage. They're a huge candidate to regress next year. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it all goes back to when we hired Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, Kevin O'Connell, and then the message, whoever came up with it, was this is going to be a competitive rebuild. And we were playing with house money all season. I think the Vegas line on this team was 8.5 wins, and we ended up hitting the over, amazingly. My problem is going all the way back to when we first heard competitive rebuild. We were like, okay, so this is obviously means that they're going to add some pieces and they're going to chase a playoff run, and they're going to try to compete and go back to the playoffs for the first time since 2019, I think is when it was, when we beat the Saints. And I didn't buy into it. I didn't think that it was possible with this roster. And lo and behold, I think the fact that they were so lucky this year and being 11-0 in one-score games, it has created this false sense of reality that this team was better than what it actually was. And then I think we all kind of figured, I think the realists amongst us kind of figured that once we got to the playoffs, we were going to get exposed because our weaknesses were just too significant, especially on defense, which we'll get to in a minute. But the fact remains is that we didn't do enough over the course of the regular season and the off season to actually build this team to be a competitor, because here we are at the end of another season, disappointing that it may be, with all of the same problems, right? We need a center because Garrett Bradbury is awful and he is now a free agent. We need a right guard because Ed Ingram is just god awful. It's amazing that he lasted as long as he did as a starter and they made no change whatsoever. We need a defensive overhaul. Again, we've been talking about a defensive overhaul for how many years now? And the fact that Mike Zimmer was gone was, I guess, part one of the solution to this problem. It's going to take a lot more. It's going to take a complete overhaul because these veterans, Harrison Smith, Eric Kendricks, Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson's probably the best of the bunch, but some of these aging veterans, they look too slow. They look like Father Time has caught up with them, and they get paid too much money to be this ineffective, so they got to go. We still probably have a kicking problem. I don't know. It seems like we get a different version of Greg Joseph every other week, so I don't know what to make of that. I'm sure that we'll bring him back. And then we have the problem of just getting absolutely lit up against really good opponents, the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Packers, the Packers game. Oh man, I wanted to come on and make a video after that one. I decided against it. I was like, it's better to stew on this and figure it out later on. And then the Giants game happened. We couldn't stop anybody because the defense is so bad, and it is what it is. But I think ultimately the fact that we had the season that we did, 13 wins, divisional title, that's all great. You know, I am all for fun, entertaining football. The last couple of years under Mike Zimmer it was just a slog, right? We were just going 7-9, 7-8-1, 8-8, whatever the case may be. And it was painful. It was painful to get through those seasons because we knew we weren't going anywhere. And we just looked bad more often than not. We just caught a lot of bad breaks. And now we have this amazing season, which I think is going to be a one-off. I think this team is going to regress and just significantly next year because, as we have seen, this defense needs to be completely overhauled. And I don't think you can do that in one off season, especially with the way that the current cap situation is for the Vikings. So I think that they're really going to have to commit to one or the other. I think that the time has run out on this team being able to compete, because next year the schedule is just going to get harder. The other teams in the division are going to get better. And the other teams that we face that we may have, lucked out with, with a win. I mean, that's the other part of it is we mentioned one of the greatest catches of all time happened this season with Justin Jefferson. It took one of the greatest catches of all time, to beat the Buffalo Bills. That's what it took. To beat the Colts, who we had no business being down 33-0. It took the greatest comeback in NFL history to win that game. So that's two right there that we shouldn't have won. yeah, it's this team wasn't good. This team was okay. It was lucky. It was a mirage. It was just one of those seasons that just happens to happen when all of the things during the regular season just go your way. So that is my take on the 2022 season as a whole. I think they need to really commit to a rebuild, and they need to start blowing shit up. They really have to, especially on defense. These aging veterans, whether it's a trade or a post June 1st designation cut, I think Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, Eric Kendricks, Harrison Smith, we have to start parting ways with some of the players that we have grown accustomed to seeing and rooting for on this team, because they are just no longer in a position physically to contribute to what the goal is. And the end goal is to get past the New York Giants in the first round, to host an NFC championship game, to get to an NFC championship game. At the very least, the Giants did us a favor. We are now not going to have to go to San Francisco and get murdered by the 49ers, because I believe if we would have won this game, we would have been going to San Francisco next week, and they would put up 60 points on us in the first half. It would be like Georgia versus TCU was a few weeks ago. So, but they have to commit to a rebuild. And we're going to close this out with Kirk Cousins. Played a wonderful game, had a pretty good season. He was doing things that we asked, throwing deep to Justin Jefferson, whether or not it got intercepted, who cares? Because at least you were doing it. And then at the very end, on the final play of the season, 4th and 8, he throws a 3-yard pass short of the 6 to a well-covered TJ Hawkinson. It's just, 1 year left. 1 year left. Every day that passes is one day closer to Kirk Cousins no longer being on this team, and I cannot wait. And we'll discuss that more as time goes on, but I just wanted to make this quick reaction video to the Minnesota Vikings losing in the first round of the playoffs to the New York Giants at home. We were the only home team to lose on Super Wildcard Weekend so far, barring whatever happens tonight. And just to announce that I'm going to return to making YouTube videos in a much more frequent capacity, maybe not full-time, maybe not every day, but I'm going to try to get on here and make some content and have discussions with you, the audience, other Minnesota Vikings fans, as we get through this offseason toward what I think is going to be one of the more interesting off seasons, because change is going to have to happen in a big way for this team to remain competitive. If they want to stick to that moniker, competitive rebuild, they have to do some serious rebuilding. Otherwise, this team will not be competitive next year. I'm warning you right now. We will probably be picking up season preview magazines in July and August, and they will have us pegged as maybe the third best team in the division, because barring what happens with Aaron Rodgers, I think the Packers are still a more talented team than us, and the Lions may be on the rise. And the Bears have quite the war chest of assets that they could go after free agents and draft picks this year, because they did the right thing and they tore everything down. And sometimes you have to be dog shit in order to do the rebuild that you need to be uber competitive. So we'll see how that goes. But that's going to do it for me. It was a mirage of a season. It was a fun season. But guys, I don't care about fun. I don't care about stats. I don't care about box scores. I don't care about records or anything. I want to win a championship. It's been how many years now? We haven't even sniffed one since 1977. So if you want to hang a banner for a box score, be my guest. If you want to hang a banner that says, I had fun, yay, you could do that. You're free to do that. But ultimately, I have no really, at the end of the day, it meant nothing. The 13 wins. Okay, you flushed it. Big deal. What you did this year does not matter, because this is day one of the offseason. This is day one of getting ready for 2023. Everything that just happened is in the past, and it means nothing. The only thing that you can do is take what you learned, apply it, make changes, and hope to be better next year. All that fun we had, all those box scores, all those great catches, the greatest comeback, it's in the past. It doesn't help you now. So I think we need to recalibrate and figure out where we go from here. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next one.